views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And hello and welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Darren Hyman. Today we're going to update you on what's happening in and around our community. Well, we have a very special show for you today. We are featuring the island of Puerto Rico. Today on this special edition of Open, our cameras travel to Puerto Rico. We'll discuss the island, the hurricane, and also the relief effort. Plus, we'll also discuss the recent Unity March in Washington, D.C., and the major push to help the people of Puerto Rico. After that, we're going to see and hear from two individuals who've actually partnered up with the New York City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. They're going to help with the relief mission. And also we'll speak to Councilman Fernando Cabrera, who will be here talking about the latest and how he contributed in helping the island. And then we'll shed light on Thanksgiving and what people are actually thankful for. So stay tuned, because all this and much more is heading your way, because this is a very special Thanksgiving edition of Open. And hello, everyone. I'm your host, Darren Hyman, and today is Wednesday, November 22nd. Of course, you're watching a special edition of Open, a live program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. Now, we want to encourage you to stay connected to us. And how you can do that? Well, you can find out more about us on Twitter at BronxNet TV and Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. Well, a lot has been going on over this busy week, and first we're going to catch you up with some local Bronx updates. Well, Bronx political leaders released a report entitled Safe at Home, addressing the lack of public safety at the New York City Housing Authority. Now, although the Bronx has seen a 29% decrease in murders, NYCHA housing only saw a 4% decrease. According to reports, NYCHA has 7,200 domestic violence incidents between January and June, which is 7.6% citywide. The 28-page report comes days after 3 senior managers were either fired or demoted for failing to do inspections of lead-painted about 45,000 apartments. Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. says, quote, "The agency needs to take concrete steps towards getting the house in order and ensuring the health and safety of its residents." Well, the Trump administration has announced that it's ending the temporary residency permit program that has allowed almost 60,000 citizens from Haiti to live and work in the United States since the massive 2010 earthquake. Now, according to Homeland Security, Department conditions in Haiti have improved, and they say the program will extend one last time until July of 2019. Advocates for Haitians say the conditions in the island have not improved nearly enough for Haitians to be deported. Now, more than 2.5 million people live on less than $1.23 a day, which authorities consider extreme poverty. Homeland Security Department made the announcement 60 days before the temporary status for Haitians was set to expire. The agency originally extended the program for 6 months instead of 18 months. In the meantime, Haitians have to gear up for something they're not prepared for. We'll keep you updated with this story as more news becomes available. The Big Brothers and Big Sisters of New York City is beginning its Big in Blue mentoring program with police from the 44th Precinct and students from the Rafael Hernandez Dual Language Magnet School with the school assembly. Now, 20 police officers met monthly with students about their future and career goals. Big Brothers Big Sisters CEO says the program will go to other schools in the coming months, and the program will give students an opportunity to build a relationship and learn from the NYPD. According to Daily News, city officials have rolled out many programs to build relationship between students and police under New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio. In Team Up Tuesday, police from 70 precincts visited 150 schools in April to meet UPS for students. Well, in other news, and the headline for today, our BronxNet cameras were recently in Puerto Rico. They had the opportunity to talk to award-winning playwright Lin-Manuel Miranda and take a look at what he had to say.
I'm here next to Lin-Manuel, producer, actor, do-it-all, a person that really cares about what's happening here in Puerto Rico. So let me know, why are you here? What's the plan here in Puerto Rico?
Well, we're here for a couple of days, and the plan is threefold. One, we've been lucky enough to raise a lot of money for the island, and it's to see where that money is going, to check in with mayors, to check in with community centers, and see the efforts that have been helped along by the Hispanic Federation, which is the nonprofit I've been working with. Two, to announce the Amanece project with the Hispanic Federation that is dedicating $2.5 million to long-term rebuilding projects, and that's everything from agriculture to fishing to rebuilding roofs. It's sort of all hands on deck approach with community organizations on the island that already exist. And three, we're bringing Hamilton to Puerto Rico. Not now, in January of 2019. And that's been in the works for a long time. It's been in the works for about 6 months now, but we decided to make the announcement now to just give everything a push, to plant a flag in the sand and say, listen, January of next year, we're going to be ready for a production and hopefully bring a lot of business and eyeballs and tourism to the island.
So let's talk about your experience here, not only talking to people, but visiting different places in the island that might be affected more than others.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole other thing to be here in person and to, from the moment we landed where we saw Puerto Rico from 30,000 feet, and you're used to seeing so much light coming off the island and seeing so much less, to, the mountainsides that you're used to driving through being bare. I never thought I'd see autumn or winter in Puerto Rico. That's what it looks like. And, to see these normally lush mountainsides without leaves on them was very... it was crazy, what's been amazing is seeing the resilience of everyday people. They're frustrated that things aren't happening as fast as they should be, but they're resilient and they're here to stay, and they're making the best of what's happening.
So what's next? What do we have to do?
Well, listen, we're in the Bronx, right? I mean, if it wasn't for the Bronx, this rap probably never would be going on. So tell me where you're from. I mean, so many Boricuas call the Bronx home. And just remember your brothers and sisters. Keep giving whatever you can give, whether that's a monthly donation, which you can do. If it's, one less magazine a week, and you give $5 to the Hispanic Federation. And also keep using your voices. Our voices are so important. We don't talk about that enough, but the Jones Act was waived because we jumped up and down and made noise on social media and in real life. The whitefish scandal, that went away because people made their voices heard. And so we just need to be the voice for the island because we have that responsibility as Puerto Ricans in the mainland.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'm back to you, to the studio.
And thank you, Yela. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but we want you to stay with us as we continue with this very special edition of Open as we look at the crisis in Puerto Rico.
And I can't change, even if I try, even if I wanted to. My love, she keeps me warm. 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 She keeps me warm.
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
Love is kind. Love is patient.
And we continue on our coverage with the crisis in Puerto Rico. We go now from New York to Washington, D.C., where thousands of people gathered in the nation's capital protesting to bring awareness to the unjust laws that, according to many, have crippled and prohibited the growth of Puerto Rico. Our reporter, Alexandria Garcia, has the story.
Thousands gathered and marched in solidarity for Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. to bring awareness to the unjust laws that, according to many Puerto Ricans, have crippled and prohibited the growth of Puerto Rico. To many marchers, it was a chance to bring awareness to the Jones Act, a law deemed unjust and outdated that puts an unfair economic burden on Puerto Rico during this distressing time.
Well, Puerto Rico is ingrained in me. We're very humble people, full of culture, and I was just appalled at the situation there and the lack of help. The fact that they're still without water and electricity. The fact that there's hundreds of people that have died because of the hurricane, and also because of the Jones Act that's pretty much suffocating them.
Guest speakers also took the stage by the Lincoln Memorial and spoke about what Puerto Rico meant to them, as well as what the government can do more effectively to help Puerto Rico receive the aid it needs.
I would like to see humanity. Some humanity would be nice. I would like to see the cancellation of the debt, the end of the Jones Act, and for Puerto Rico to really have the opportunity to create a sustainable future on Puerto Rico's terms.
In addition, political leader Emilio Vasquez spoke to us about how there shouldn't be a Jones Act in place at all and mentioned his resolution.
One of the first things, actually, the first House resolution that I made was House Bill 562. I'm asking the President and I'm asking Congress to give us 365 days, which is a year. Then as we started moving and progressing, I noticed that some things started shifting politically. So I did House Bill 563, which is asking Congress and the President of the United States, instead of giving us that 365, I did it for 5 years.
As thousands ended the march at the Lincoln Memorial, political leaders and community members united, showing their strength for the beautiful island of Puerto Rico. Reporting for BronxNet, I'm Alexandra Garcia.
Well, thank you, Alexandria. Our next guest holds the island of Puerto Rico dear to his heart. He's also had the opportunity to participate in the Unity March. And joining us now, we welcome over the phone New York State Assemblyman of the 85th District and leader of the Bronx Democratic Party, Marcos Crespo. Assemblyman, good to have you.
It's great to be here. I appreciate the time.
Hey, thank you much for sharing with us. Listen, as we talk about the Unity March, obviously a lot of people gathering and converging on Washington, D.C. Tell us, do you feel like your voice was heard?
Well, look, I think it was important for the community to have an outlet, an opportunity to come together. It's always tough to mobilize people from around the country to D.C., but we had a nice turnout of supporters and folks from different states to send a message of unity and to demand justice for Puerto Rico on many levels. It's a wide range of issues that are affecting the island that we wanted to raise consciousness and awareness. And, it's also that we're competing for attention to this issue. We can't let Puerto Rico's plight, as well as that of the Virgin Islands, fall by the wayside and get lost in the news cycle. We have to continue to raise awareness until these issues are addressed and the federal government does what it needs to do.
Talk to me a little bit about your trip down. You were one of the initial people that went down. When the governor went down from New York and had that plane full of supplies and relief effort, you were standing right there with him. You traveled with him. Talk to us about where you see things today versus when you went the first time.
Well, look, the first trip that I went with Governor Cuomo, that was the first flight into Puerto Rico with any sort of relief after the storm hit. The storm hit on Wednesday. Through Thursday, we arrived Friday. And when we arrived, we saw extreme devastation to infrastructure. We drove through flooded communities where we saw people in kayaks checking in on neighbors. We saw the extent of the damage prior to the local authorities having any opportunity to really begin any work. And so, we saw the devastation firsthand, and it was just really hard to look at. But we also saw the resiliency in the eyes of the people in the ground and folks just willing to do what needs to be done to move forward. We heard from the governor then, who seemed extremely knowledgeable about, Governor Rosselló, that is, about the steps that lied ahead for Puerto Rico, and he had a clear plan for how to execute that. In this last trip, and since the storm, we now saw some of the repair work underway. We saw what communities have had to do and the networks that have built out in specific neighborhoods to sort of help respond and fill the gaps for missing support. And when I talk about missing support, I'm talking about the lack of federal personnel on the ground, the fact that FEMA, the Army Corps, and FEMA have done the minimal amount of work, which is unconscionable when you think of the extent of the damage. And the fact that, folks on the ground, many residents in Puerto Rico feel that the municipal government as well as the central government haven't been as visible as they would like them to be. And so it's sort of two stages of this devastation, but people need to know that Puerto Rico is going to have a long road to recovery, and there's going to be many stages to this process. But right now, the most crucial is that Puerto Rico is given the resources it needs to rebuild without strings attached, and that the limitations in terms of federal law that continue to hinder economic growth in Puerto Rico need to be addressed.
Let's talk a little bit about Puerto Rico in depth a little bit more, because cameras have been there. Our cameras are there. That's the focus of today's show. Our cameras being in Puerto Rico, bringing people an in-depth look at what's happening over there. But honestly, we know the cameras pull out, and national media cameras have pulled out. Our cameras are out of there right now. But there are things that people aren't necessarily seeing that the cameras aren't telling. What are those?
Well, look, the extreme poverty in Puerto Rico. People need to know that many of the people they're seeing affected weren't just affected by the storm. If you had visited Puerto Rico and gone into these communities prior to Maria or Irma, you would have seen a level of poverty that you would not have expected from Puerto Rico. And people visit the island and they go to the touristic areas and they see a different story. But when you go to the neighborhoods, when you see what's happening to their economy, if you analyze the austerity measures that Puerto Rico had already implemented, the highest tax in the nation, when you look at the fact that our Medicaid system is the highest utilized system in the country, but the most underfunded, and the only one in the entire states or territories that has a cap on reimbursement, which led to people waiting for months for emergency surgeries because surgeons and doctors were leaving the island by the hundreds on a monthly basis. So there were so many depths, so many layers to the economic crisis and the problems in Puerto Rico. Add to that a 100-year storm, and it is complete chaos and devastation. And when the cameras pull out, like I said, this long road to recovery is going to require a lot of support, a lot of assistance. And I hope that if there's one silver lining to this tragedy, is that this has renewed a sense of involvement and attention by the diaspora and by the people around this country to understand what Puerto Rico has been going through and to realize that we need to do better as a nation to respond to a territory that we have claimed as our own but treated as second-class citizens, and that has to stop.
Well, walk us through the relief efforts, because we know that there are continuous relief efforts happening here in New York, across the country, to really help for Puerto Rico. Share with our viewers a little bit the urgency of continuing this relief efforts, because we know that once there's a devastation and there's a national tragedy, hearts and minds are definitely going to victims and trying to get those people the much needed supplies. But after a while, stuff does taper off. So talk to us about the importance of continuing this, given the fact of what we're seeing in Puerto Rico right now.
Look, I think, first of all, I am extremely impressed and grateful to what New Yorkers have done in particular, and people around this country. The diaspora and people out in the States have really responded. We have filled the gap in for the failure of the federal government to do its job. And people on the ground in Puerto Rico are extremely grateful to that help, whether it's the donations that have been collected and sent to communities, whether it's the people who have traveled into Puerto Rico to volunteer, to help with rebuilding, to giving things out to people in need. We have done our part, and we have done it extremely well. And it is important to continue to do it. There are challenging logistics in terms of that effort, because now with the ports being backed up, with the cost of sending goods, and the fact that now the airlines are working, but there's so many people leaving the island, it makes it just difficult to transport goods into the island to get it to folks. The companies that do containers are now backed up with work. They're having to give you longer wait times for things to get shipped in and delivered. And so there are logistical difficulties. So I do encourage people to continue to, raise resources and things like that. I think at this stage, more so than the emergency supplies, if people want to be helpful, it is going to be funding, and no amount is too small to support the nonprofit community in Puerto Rico who are doing work in many towns and communities that are the poorest. If there is any hesitation to supporting government-run initiatives, they should look at the nonprofit community. There are plenty of great organizations that could use resources to help rebuild and organize those neighborhoods. There's a lot of ways in which people can help, but also the advocacy. We have to remember that Puerto Ricans are American citizens without a vote. And we can't vote in general elections, and the president knows that, and Congress knows that.
Does that make a difference at all? I mean,
we are now at the mercy of the diaspora and the people who live in the States being the voice and the vote on behalf of Puerto Rico.
I cut in and asked you, does it make a difference? And they're telling me to wrap up, but I want to get your take on this before. Does it make a difference, given the fact that you can't vote, that this plays a part in possibly the response, the relief effort, and the possibility of troops actually pulling out earlier than most people want?
There's no question in my mind that there is an element of racism involved in that. If we were an island of mostly Caucasian-looking individuals, we would be treated very differently. The fact is that we are people of color, that we speak Spanish, that we have our own identity, and despite efforts over the last 100 years to take that away, we have held on to that. And so Puerto Rico is a very unique place, but it deserves better as American citizens who have died in every single war on behalf of this country and our freedom. We deserve better than the treatment they've gotten. We have to reform the Jones Act to allow us to have a real economy. We have to give Puerto Rico more autonomy. We have to give them the resources to get themselves out of this economic crisis as well as this disaster, to rebuild without strings attached. And this is, in the silver lining of us is that there's an opportunity to do right by these American citizens. The president has chosen not to do that, to do the minimal amount of work, and to then have the audacity to demand a thank you for something that he has failed. Understand that very few lives were lost because of the storm. Hundreds have been lost in the aftermath. And that aftermath is the responsibility of the President of the United States and federal authorities to respond, and they did not do that.
All right, Assemblyman Marcus Crespo, we got to leave it there. Thank you so much for sharing with us here on Open on this very special edition talking about the island of Puerto Rico. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
All righty. Well, in other news, Hostos Community College held a panel discussion analyzing the Puerto Rican migration over the years, including the future migration of Puerto Ricans due to the aftermath of Hurricane Maria. Reporter Ashley Tiffany brings us the story.
Hostess Community College provided a crash course that analyzed the Puerto Rican migration phenomenon post-Hurricane Maria. The panel discussed different aspects and components, including historical, eyewitness, economics, and constitutional laws on what's happening in Puerto Rico.
I tried to make the point about the economics of migration and sort of define what happens what causes migration. In our case, it's been fundamentally economic, and the most immediate events around the hurricane have indeed been economic. And so that we understand that then there is consequences on the ground when you don't have water or electricity, and people have to make choices. They don't want to necessarily, but they're forced to make those choices.
The 1900s economic depression in Puerto Rico forced many natives to move to the Dominican Republic and United States. The panel went over the impact of the depression and how Hurricane Maria affects and relates to this issue today.
The situation has not been examined the way it should have been examined to bring solutions to the problem. And I think that now, although it's sad that this had happened, for all of this to come up, I think that now is the time for people to, think really, really seriously about Puerto Rico and the conditions that the Puerto Rican people are confronting. For Puerto Rican people to survive, it needs a lot of help.
Awareness, analysis, and action are the next steps to help in Puerto Rico.
All the Puerto Ricans and all the Hispanics who lives outside, who lives in the United States or around the world, to visit us, actually. For me, that's the simple way to help. Not sending a bottle of water, not sending food, just visiting us. Because if you come to the island, you spend money in the island, you are going to see the real thing on your own. Besides that, you're going to help the economy by being a tourist.
From BronxNet, this is Ashley Tiffany.
And thank you. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back with more Open right after this. Well, every year, the New York City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce organizes a business conference in Puerto Rico. But this year, they decided to hold a humanitarian mission for the island. Our BronxNet reporter, Yela Uberez, had the opportunity to speak to the Director of Operations and witness the work that they're doing for the YMCA in Puerto Rico.
So right next to me, I have Surma Azul Brown, Director of Operations for the New York City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We are at the YMCA in San Juan, and we are doing, we're part of the relief effort coming from the Bronx to San Juan to help the YMCA get better and help them out and just after the hurricane just make the whole place look better for the kids and for the community. Sulma, tell me a little bit about that.
So, as the New York City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, it was important for us to listen to our members, and many of our members wanted to go to Puerto Rico. They did not want us to cancel our trip, and many of us requested, listen, is there anyone we can partner with out there, an organization, somebody that we can go help and do some relief or fix or do anything with? So we partnered with the YMCA, and it so happens to be that was the point where the YMCA in Santurce was open. So we spoke to the executive director, Cora, and we pretty much mentioned to her, listen, how can we help? What can we do? And she provided a list of, supplies that they really needed in terms of repair. She kept telling me, we're so grateful that you're coming. We're so grateful that you're coming. And to be honest with you, it's about us being grateful and humbled to just do a service, in the human spirit. So it's a privilege to even be here, at the Y, helping and to be a part of restoration and the much needed help and aid that they need. And, what better place to do it than a place that serves families and children, right? Because la familia es la fuerza de todos nosotros. So again, we're so humbled, so privileged to be here with them.
So let's show a little bit what we have here. I see that we have a few crayons over there. We have markers, we have t-shirts, socks. We have also some baby food on the left. We have a little bit of everything here because we're just trying to help them out. We're trying to make them feel a little bit better after the hurricane. And if we walk to the right, we have some items here too. Sulma, tell me about this area here. We have some painting items too.
Oh yeah, this is actually one of the most exciting areas because today we get to help bring, the park back to life so that the children can play and be kids as they are. So many of our members in their suitcase, the 2 suitcases that were allowed on the airplane, were able to bring painting supplies, rolls, gloves, batteries, pretty much everything we're gonna need. We wanted to make sure we were the ones that were doing the full service and providing everything that they needed. We didn't want them to lift a finger. We're here to help, and it's the least that we can do.
And over there we also have a few backpacks. If we follow Sulma, right there. Sulma, tell me about the backpacks, the kids' products over there.
So the backpacks were quite impressive. It was actually a school in New York, and they brought all of their kids together, and each kid donated a book bag to give to another child. And here we have all the book bags, and as you were able to see earlier, we have the supplies to fill the book bags, and we can't wait to see the smiles that it's going to bring to their faces. And I think the significance of that is a child helping another child, and I think that as adults we could definitely emulate that spirit of giving, of service, of love. If we were all a little bit more filled with the innocence of a child, I think the world would be a better place.
Thank you, Sulma, so much. There's a lot of work to do. We're going to keep updating you after this.
Next 2 guests had the chance to partner up with the New York City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and give back to the people of Puerto Rico as well. Now, joining us to tell about their experience in Puerto Rico, we welcome now the Director of Government Relations at the Jewish Board, Kara Berkowitz, and the Senior Manager at WellCare of New York, Alex Diaz. And thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's talk about this here. We saw a little bit about what Yela was talking about, the good work that's going on down there, but also to have the opportunity here to play a part in that effort. Kara, I'll start with you. Talk to us about the effort. It happened about 2 weeks ago, and what was the results?
I think it was a great experience. I'd like to thank the Chamber for having us there, bringing a lot of clothes and supplies for kids. It was really fantastic to be able to deliver it to kids that clearly don't have a lot who are living in shelters, and to help improve a playground that was destroyed in part during the hurricane. So it was really important also to, I think, raise awareness, to continue to raise awareness about what's happening there. And I think the Chamber did a great job, and we were happy to be part of that effort.
How are you able to reach out? How does this happen here?
Well, WellCare has a long-standing relationship with the New York City Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, so they do tremendous work in the city. So they reached out. They asked us to support them. They do this event every year, but this year had a different feel to it. So WellCare was more than happy to participate and support the people in Puerto Rico and do the best that we can.
And as you said, you do this every year. Was there a little, could you sense a different set of passion this time around?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think this time there was a real sense of wanting to help the island as opposed to just going in solidarity, and to appreciate all that's great about Puerto Rico, to see that people really needed help. I mean, my employer, Jewish Board, sent me because they felt that it was really important to go and show support for what's going on and the people there.
Yeah, no, I mean, when I got to the airport, the feelings, I go to Puerto Rico every year, so when I got there, I kind of, I saw the difference. When I got in the cab, had a conversation with the taxi driver, and she was explaining to me all the issues happening in the island. So when we got to the hotel, we saw the difference. Even just in the Carolina area, we saw the difference. But then going in the bus, the chartered bus that we were able to visit the different parts, meet with the different mayors from the 3 towns that we visited, we saw how tough the situation is in Puerto Rico. And WellCare is very committed to making sure that we support the island. We sent, previously to my trip, we had our director of behavioral health go out with Dominican medical and dental providers to provide medical relief efforts as well. So we're very committed as a company to be engaged and be through this process and support Puerto Rico as much as we can.
Talk to us a little bit about the takeaway, Kara. You spent time, as you said, you stayed at the hotel, rode on the bus, had the opportunity to meet with, elected officials and residents. What's the takeaway and what's the message that you would send back to people today?
I mean, I think that we can't forget about the people of Puerto Rico. There's still so many needs. I mean, here in the Bronx, there's such great healthcare facilities, great infrastructure, and people in Puerto Rico, unfortunately, don't have those same benefits that we as Americans all should. And I think that we need to keep them in mind, keep bringing supplies, and keep helping out, because there's a real need there.
Yeah. And I would just encourage that everyone continues to volunteer, continues to give back. As you mentioned earlier in this segment, the news probably isn't showing up as much. We're not getting as much media attention, but organizations like BronxNet are doing tremendous work in providing the information back to the communities, back to the people. Here, as not in the island and having family over there, it was very impactful for me when the hurricane happened, because we went through a lot just trying to get in contact with our families. So I think what we have to continue to do is stay vigilant, stay supportive. The island continues to need our help, and I think from a corporate community, from the non-for-profit sector, from the community leaders, our elected officials, it takes a village, right? So we have to just make sure that we continue to do everything that we're doing to get Puerto Rico back on its feet.
So going forward, what happens now? Do you still continue with relief efforts? I mean, you came back, I know obviously after the experience, do you say, listen, we still got to get some more stuff? How does it go from here?
Absolutely. I mean, we're still collecting supplies. I mean, we've talked to people about collecting more things, because the need is ongoing. People still need clothes, they need medical supplies. So definitely, I think that's part of it. I mean, having gone to Puerto Rico many times, it's especially more part of what I think of every day, especially as we get close to Thanksgiving, thinking that I'm really grateful to live here, but also that we really need to continue to think about people and not forget what they're going through.
Yeah. So for people who want to help out, what can they do and how can they do? Can they contact your organization? What do they do?
Well, with WellCare, we have offices from all the way in Buffalo all the way to New York City, right? So we're a national company. We've been involved in New York State with a lot of relief efforts throughout the state. Even in Illinois, our Chicago team has been very active, and in Florida, our Tampa team. But here in the Bronx, we have an office at 1043 Southern Boulevard. Our staff is there, so we can coordinate efforts with other community partners. We supported an initiative with Senator Diaz, Assemblyman Crespo, and other elected officials a few weeks back in a relief effort to getting supplies out for the island. So we're going to stay committed. We're going to stay involved, because as a company, we're committed to making sure that we support our communities.
And so going forward, obviously, a lot of people will continue to have their eyes on Puerto Rico because the need is still so great. You find the power is still compromised and challenged, resources hard to get in, and then those people who are sending supplies actually are having a hard time getting those supplies from the port actually to homes. Out of everything that you guys saw, what was the biggest, probably most heart-wrenching thing to you?
I think going into the shelters and seeing very young children with not many supplies or clothes, and just really kind of there with their parents, and their parents, it was the middle of the day, clearly didn't have anywhere else to go, had really not many basic life things that they needed, and it was really heartbreaking to realize that this was their future until they really find housing and employment, which is not easy to come by right now. So that was a really tough thing to watch, the unending poverty and some lack of hope.
For me, it really was those bus rides when we got to see the devastation and the impact that it's having on the individuals on the island. When we visited Loíza, we saw some really difficult things over there, people suffering a lot, which again, BronxNet did a tremendous job in covering that. So those type of, those type of situations are what I take away as something that I want to make sure we continue to give back and do more.
Kara, Alex, thank you so much for coming and sharing the great work that you guys did going down to Puerto Rico and providing some help and also sharing some love. Thanks much.
Thank you.
All righty, listen, I want you to stay with us because in a special interview, our cameras actually visited San Juan Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz at the headquarters of what has become the biggest donation center in the island. In fact, we're going to go to that story right now.
Nos encontramos en el Coliseo Roberto Clemente. Del lado mío está la alcaldesa Carmen Yulín Cruz. El Coliseo se ha convertido en un centro de compilación y para las donaciones que vienen después del huracán María, ¿cierto?
Sí.
Cuéntame un poquito sobre el proceso y cómo ha sido la recolección de donación.
Pues mire, el Coliseo fue el refugio más grande que hubo en todo Puerto Rico. Aquí habían 680 personas y como 200 empleados, que salieron esos 200 empleados septiembre 20, cuando todavía había vientos de tormenta tropical. María no se había ido completamente. Pero nos dimos cuenta de inmediato que necesitábamos un lugar para darle de comer a la gente de San Juan. Hoy llegamos a 174,000 personas en San Juan a las que hemos ayudado. San Juan tiene una población de aproximadamente 350,000 personas, o sea que 1 de cada 2 sanjuaneros han sido ayudados con agua y comida. Nosotros comenzamos la tercera semana porque queríamos tener suficientes abastos para darle a la gente comida por una semana. Yo no te puedo dar comida hoy para un día y olvidarte y no estar más cercano a ese proceso. Así es que siempre ha habido una fluctuación entre el 60% de donaciones. El Hispanic Federation nos dio 217,000 libras de comida.
La Federación Hispana.
Sí, la ciudad de Nueva York, la ciudad de Miami Beach, la ciudad de Chicago, desde California. Comenzamos a recibir dinero. De hecho, esta semana lanzamos una fundación que se llama Somebody Help Us, alguien ayúdenos, porque estamos recibiendo dinero de ciudadanos privados, cantidades pequeñas y cantidades grandes. Money orders, cheques, dinero grapado. Y nos dicen siempre, alcaldesa, no es mucho, pero en algo ayuda, y yo creo que es mucho. Así es que empezamos a poner esto que se llamaban, inicialmente eran Hope Boxes, ¿verdad? Ahora se llaman Hope Bags, porque la caja costaba $1.40 y esto cuesta 10 centavos.
Estamos ahorrando para tener más suministro, más comida, ¿cierto?
Exacto, y entonces esto es, muchos de los proyectos son Goya, pero esto es de lo que nosotros comemos, ¿verdad?
Claro.
Estas galletas que se llaman galletas María, que todavía el nombre María va a ser, y esto es bien importante, el sazón, para darle el gustito.
Claro, típico de la comida puertorriqueña y
la
dominicana.
Dominicana, así es que de hecho en la casa dominicana se da comida caliente lunes, miércoles y viernes y se reparten también suministros.
Y esto está hecho de manera de que no le falten nutrientes a las personas en sus hogares, ¿cierto?
De ninguna, es totalmente balanceada. También entonces ahora las combinamos con estas cajitas. Nosotros le decimos cajitas de pollo, porque yo no sé si en la República, pero aquí cuando uno va a comprar un pollito, pues...
Se lo entran acá.
Exacto.
Sí, y ahí está.
Pues estos son de FEMA, tienen comida para una persona para una vez, y entonces hacemos una combinación de las cajitas de comida de FEMA, con la comida que nos han dado pues nuestros auspiciadores, y el municipio también ha comprado alrededor de 6 furgones de comida, así es que hay mucho producto enlatado porque tiene que ser también bien fácil de cocinar.
Y por la falta de electricidad
La
también.
gente no
¿Esto
tiene
es
energía eléctrica.
para una persona?
Esto es para una persona por una semana.
Por una semana.
Y se hacen para una persona, para 2 personas o para 4 personas por una semana entera.
¿Cómo están consiguiendo los datos para saber qué cantidad de personas, qué tan grande es la familia?
Pues depende. Nosotros tenemos 26 comedores comunitarios. Ahí pues se le dan las cajas estas, las grandes de habichuelas, de arroz, etcétera. Y ahí va la gente a comer. Pero tenemos alrededor de 47 iglesias que se han unido al esfuerzo. Ellos tienen un conteo exacto de los barrios, dónde está cada persona, quién está encamado, quién necesita cositas de bebé, quién necesita cositas de adultos mayores. Y pero en los otros vecindarios es un sistema de honor.
Claro.
Nosotros entendemos que, mira, si tú nos dijiste que tenían 4 personas, pero en realidad tenías 3, pues te da para un poquito más, ¿no? Pero lo que hemos encontrado en la generosidad del pueblo puertorriqueño, que incluye a los compatriotas dominicanos, es que la gente es honesta, porque sabe que si le quita a alguien más no va a tener de comer.
¿Y ustedes también han estado acá viviendo desde?
Todavía, empezamos en María, en Irma, perdón. La gente se olvida de Irma, nosotros
María
no nos
fue más
olvidamos
fuerte.
de Irma. María fue más fuerte, las dos fueron categorías 3-4, Irma, María 4-5, pero Irma nos dio así como de ladito, María nos dio por el mismo medio. Pero yo estoy sí ahí viviendo en Trump Towers, le decimos, en 2 matres en el piso.
Por acá es que tenemos los filtros del agua, ¿cierto?
Sí, estos son los filtros, eso vino a nosotros por Operation Blessing. Ellos son una organización de Virginia sin fines de lucro que se dedica a dar ayuda en desastres naturales. Y esto es un esfuerzo que se llama Operation Agua, Operación Agua, con el American Federation of Teachers, la Asociación de Maestros, ACME, la Federación Hispana, Operation Blessing, y ahora se añadieron también la Unión Marítima y Toad, que es una compañía de embarque, y el municipio de San Juan. Así que si usted dona $30, no solamente adquiere uno de estos para usted, es un filtro como los que tenían los abuelos antes, de cerámica. Este es el filtro de cerámica. Dura aproximadamente 1 año o un poquito más, depende de cómo usted lo cuide. Así es que si usted compra uno, no lo compra, es el donativo, le está regalando también uno a otra familia que no puede hacer el donativo. Así es que pueden ir a operationagua.com y hacer el donativo a través de la Federación Americana de Maestros.
Y ayudar a una familia a tener agua potable,
A tener agua potable, agua limpia, porque aún cuando hay agua de la pluma, uno tiene que decir, hay que hervirla, no la puedes hervir, pues así la tienes bien como está.
Alcaldesa, y todas estas donaciones son para San Juan. Usted también ha sido una persona que ha ayudado a personas de otros pueblos, ¿cierto?
Sí,
cuando
sí.
necesitan.
No, y hay gente que dice, mira, alcaldesa, yo necesito que esta donación llegue directamente a tal pueblo. Y se la hacemos llegar sin ningún problema.
Claro.
O sea, San Juan es Puerto Rico y Puerto Rico es San Juan.
¿Qué necesita ahora mismo Puerto Rico en general? ¿Cuáles son las donaciones más importantes, lo que usted necesita para ayudar a su gente, a nuestra gente?
Bueno, mira, honestamente ahora ya cambiamos a materiales para poder rehacer los techos de las casas, para poder reconstruir hogares. Eso ya es un poco más difícil, pero por eso nosotros abrimos esta fundación, Somebody Help Us, alguien ayúdenos, .org, donde la gente puede ir a hacer un donativo pequeño. Nosotros les decimos que donen $20.17, porque el año 2017 es el año en que María cambió a Puerto Rico, el año en que María cambió a San Juan, y nuestro normal no va a ser lo mismo, nunca más.
Well, it's been 2 months after the Hurricane Maria has hit the island of Puerto Rico, and the people are still in need of help. Now, joining us over the phone to discuss this and the relief mission is the councilman of the 14th District, Councilman Fernando Cabrera. Councilman Cabrera, good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
We've talked about this time and time again, and you continue to be a stable force in going over and assisting in the island of Puerto Rico with all that's going on. I want to ask you a little bit more about certain places? Because many times a lot of attention is given, and no slight intended, to San Juan. That's the capital. That's where things are. That's where we know a lot of the focus, and it really is ground zero for a lot of the relief efforts and stuff. But talk to us a little bit about the mountains and that experience, because it seems as though that those are the people in the mountains that seem to have a lot of trouble. And I know you were able to actually get to the mountain after being able to travel through some rough waters.
Absolutely, you're absolutely 100% right there, and those are the areas that were most affected. We're talking about areas like Jayuya, Utuado, Orocovi. Those mountainous areas were so hard hit, and part of the reason is because they have so many landslides. And if you have the opportunity to go there, you will find that many telephone poles were down, houses were blown away. We're talking about many of the houses that were made out of wood, or you may have a house that's made out of concrete, but their roof is made out of anything other than cement. And as a result of that, many people in those mountainous areas were hard hit. So much that even up to this day, still do not have electricity. To this day, they still, sometimes they have water, sometimes they don't have water. And, you know, when you don't have electricity, you pretty much go back to the dark ages. Things that we take for granted, like refrigerator, things that we take granted, such as air conditioning during, hot days. And at the same time, there are still people there. And I could tell you, I was just there not too long ago, where there are people still who are disconnected. And to get to them, you have to literally cross a river. We have, several instances, but one in particular that caught my biggest attention was a young lady crossing the river to be able to get food from us. We crossed the river back with her, had an opportunity to go with her. And, lo and behold, she had a 3-month-old and 1.5-year-old baby. And there was no way for them to drive out of there because the bridge went down. And when she came back,
we're watching this. Actually, I'm not cutting you off, Councilman. I'm not cutting you off.
Hug, and she literally wept for 10 minutes. I think this was the first time that she was able to just let it all out in a very safe environment. And she told me her husband had left her all by herself. He went to the States, and just simply sad. And so you hear stories and stories, and FEMA has not gotten to many of these places. In Jayuya, they only have 4 FEMA workers. I met one of them. He's trying his very best, but they need more FEMA workers, especially to get into the mountainous area of those regions.
Yeah, well, I was trying to cut in it for a second because we're actually seeing the pictures of the actual video of you actually walking across that bridge, walking literally across what looks like, trees and power lines put together in a makeshift bridge. Did you have an idea that the devastation would be as grave as we were seeing?
Absolutely not. I mean, I love to go on disasters and to be able to get to regions before others do it, because I know how slow government can move. And I've been to Haiti, I've been to Katrina, and I don't like to compare disasters, but this is definitely one of the top ones. It's so overwhelming and so systemic to the area. It's not like one little part or one block. It's just block after block, region after region, and very, very difficult to get supplies there. If you're trying to bring a Mack truck, we were able to do that. The cops are still shocked how we did that, but we needed to get those supplies in to be able to help them. But it's awful. I mean, you have the elderly living with just strips of wood. Before that, they had sink above this piece of wood, so when it rains, it just drains on them. You see the black mold. You see the level of depression, hopelessness. So it's not just food. It's not just water. But it's the human condition. It is the spirit of hopelessness. And this is why it's important for them to feel that we have not given up on them. Usually during disasters, people come in the first 4 weeks, they hit it hard, and then after that, out of sight, out of mind. We got to continue to provide the help. And so right now, the chapter is turning there. The two most important things are for this region are generators and also reconstruction. We got to get this roofs up. We got to get these walls back up. One young lady she lost her home twice. This is the second time that she lost her home, and we went by her home, and all four walls were down, the roof was down. Thank God that she was not in there. And so this is why it's imperative that we do not give up in helping.
Yeah. Well, we want to thank you so much for sharing with us, Councilman Fernando Cabrera of the 14th District, who continues to go to Puerto Rico. Him and the international team of first responders has traveled to Puerto Rico a few times to really bring relief. Thank you so much, Councilman, for sharing with us. And, of course, we'll continue to follow the story of all that goes on in Puerto Rico.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Well, the devastation of Hurricane Maria has left people with no power or really a stable place to live. Our BronxNet cameras visited one of the most affected areas and went inside one resident's home to see the damages and effects of Hurricane Maria.
Mismo en lo que son los restos de la casa de Justina de Jesús. Esta es su sala de estar. Si seguimos para acá, pues creo que veo el baño.
Un baño.
Lo que queda del baño también. Acá vemos que
otro cuarto, dormitorio.
Este es el baño acá. Este es uno de los dormitorios que queda acá. No hay ventanas, no hay techos. Estamos básicamente al aire libre. No hay absolutamente nada. Solamente queda la estructura de la casa, pero no está quedando nada. Entonces, este es otro baño acá. Lo que queda del baño está inundado, tiene un poquito de lodo por abajo, por acá, por las partes, si podemos verlo acá. Si miramos a la izquierda vemos el closet, no tenemos, no veo ningún tipo de, no veo ropa acá para nada, solamente veo, si Justina me dice que botó absolutamente todo, ella no estuvo acá durante el huracán, ella se fue a una casa de una cuñada, pero viene todos los días porque es una casa que ella es la propietaria de esta casa, no quiere perder lo que queda, no quiere que alguien tome el territorio. No. Entonces viene desde la casa
de mi cuñada con mi esposo.
¿Y te quedas hasta qué hora?
Estamos aquí alrededor hasta las 5 de la tarde o 5 y media, así. Desde por la mañana. Entonces venimos a las 11, 10.
Es muy
Estamos
difícil.
todo el día ahí sentaditos.
Esto muestra la dificultad y el problema que tenemos ahora mismo y también no perder el trabajo de una vida, ¿cierto? Para esta casa. Así como la historia de Justina, hay muchas más historias acá en Puerto Rico y seguiremos contándoselas.
And stay tuned as Yella and others will continue to bring us more information from Puerto Rico. We'll be right back in a few.
150 over 90.
180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from invisible or silent. If you've come off your treatment plan, get back on it or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
Thanksgiving is literally right around the corner. Try tomorrow. In the spirit of Thanksgiving, the Baldor Specialty Foods is giving back to the community by distributing food to families in Hunts Point. Reporter Shanice Powell has a story.
Baldor Specialty Foods aims to serve 2,000 people this Thanksgiving here at the Hunts Point community.
I remember 3 years ago when we first did it, Baldor's connected with the community board. I was still the district manager, and they said, hey, Ralph, we want to give our food to 500 people from the Hunts Point community. And we were able to put it together by partnering with the local not-for-profits and the Point. And 3 years down the line, we're giving out food for a family of 4 for 2,000 families, which I think is extraordinary. It's just the commitment that Baldor's has of giving back to the community.
In collaboration with Sunkist, Ocean Mist, Man Packing, and Honor Foods, to name a few, Baldor was able to include in these boxes
pineapples, oranges, apples, potatoes, onions, 4 kinds of leafy greens, pie, cider, milk.
It does not matter what's in there. It's the happiness that they give us
out of their kindness of their heart to everyone in this community.
It's great for the community to give out stuff that that people can afford, and it's a pleasure that hopefully they'll keep on going with helping out.
The generous act of Baldor and their partner vendors allows families within the Hunts Point community to celebrate Thanksgiving the proper way, with the provision of turkey and fresh produce. From BronxNet, this is Shanice Powell.
And thank you, Shanice. And as we get ready for Thanksgiving, we decided to ask some Bronx residents what they're thankful for, and let's take a look at some of their responses.
Well, I'm thankful for a lot of things. Number one thing I'm thankful for is that God is giving me health. My family is healthy. I have a job. I'm able to pay rent. And that I'm able to help other people when they need me.
Well, I'm thankful that I have a roof over my head. I have nice children that look out for me. And I just feel blessed.
I'm just grateful for life. I'm grateful for good people. I'm grateful for even the small little things. Like, you know, if I see somebody that has a little less, not to compare situations, but it's a lot of people that's less fortunate than me. So that helps me to just put things back into perspective and not worry about the little things, because you could be worse off. And I'm just grateful to be here and for each and every day.
To be, you know, surrounded by love and just eat lots of food, cook great food.
I'm thankful for the blessings God gave me, you know, like my family, my friends. Other than the great food, honestly, a moment to spend time with family and friends, being able to actually be around anyone. Being alone during this season is not the best. It gets very cold, and the worst thing to be is cold and alone. But yeah, I think being able to actually come as one, enjoy food, talk, reminisce, create memories, talk about memories, great things like that.
So many things for a lot of people to be thankful for. And as we look at today's show, of course, look at the devastation going on in Puerto Rico. Certainly, we can remember during this time, this season, to be grateful, first of all, for all that we have, and second of all, to be giving for those in Puerto Rico and others who may not have. And so continue to do what you can by sharing and giving in the relief efforts as we remember those on the island of Puerto Rico. That's been the focus of today's very special show as we do a Thanksgiving special looking at the controversy, the pain, the devastation surrounded by those who've been affected in Puerto Rico. Now, we've come to the end of the show today, but of course, we want to thank our guests and all of you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you've missed any part of today's show, yes, you can catch the Recablecast, I should say, at 5 and 10 p.m. on Cablevision's Channel 67. If you have Verizon Fios, that would be Channel 33, and anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. I'm Darren Hyman. For all of us here on the set of Open, want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Make sure that you enjoy the time. Take care, and God bless.